Denmark has begun using Chinese surveillance cameras that happen to be the same cameras which have facial recognition and is used to find and then imprison Uyghur Muslims in China. These cameras are bought from two Chinese companies that are both on the United States blacklist for participating in human rights violations in China. Several IT experts have already warned the Danish government that these cameras might have backdoors that enables the Chinese government to surveil Danish citizens, technology, and so on. They say that in reality it could be that China is watching along because there could be backdoors installed in such equipment. You could fear that the Chinese could use this to monitor and spy on the whole commune. In a response, this lady working for the government said that we expect people we deal with to respect fundamental human rights. Which, I mean, this is pretty crazy, guys. As is so often the case, these two Chinese companies we're talking about today, HikVision and Dahua, are partly owned by the Chinese government. So they own these cameras, then sell them to Denmark, and then they receive regular software updates from Hangzhou in China. And Dahua is one of these companies that has frequently been accused of installing backdoors by other countries to the point where other countries are now not dealing with them anymore, and they are on the US blacklist for a reason. Before we get into how these cameras are dangerous, remember that one of the things that the intelligence services in all of Europe has tried to warn us about is how China is trying to gain a foothold in developed countries in Europe with technology. Not too long ago, Denmark and the Brits were actually very close to accepting the new Chinese-run 5G network, and the only reason we didn't accept it is that the intelligence agencies warned us that it would basically lead to endless compromising of our IT security. Because the 5G network would be controlled and operated in China, just like these new cameras are. So we just barely rejected it, which I don't get why we came so close to doing something so obviously dumb. Trust me, we don't want to end up in a situation where we rely on China for our IT security. Alright, so here's why these cameras are dangerous. When I began looking into this, I thought it was only concerning a small area of Denmark and therefore the problem wouldn't be that big, but it's actually a lot worse than I thought. The problem is not just confined to one small county in Denmark. This is Aarhus, the second biggest city in Denmark. Right now it has around 2,000 cameras monitoring public areas. Most of these are connected to the internet to provide software updates and so on. Well, it turns out that almost half of them, 850 out of 2,000 cameras, are produced and controlled in China by companies partly owned by the Chinese government. This seems like a massive issue. The government in Aarhus was notified about the potential security breach by these cameras, but they said that they couldn't afford to replace the cameras, so for now they're just gonna keep them there because it would cost around 2 million euros to replace them all. Which, I mean, that's a radical statement if you understand what's going on. So there are two major concerns about these cameras. The first one is that since they're hooked up to the internet, they could somehow, with a software update, gain access to other areas of Danish IT security and thereby compromise the Danish systems. The second one is the more obvious one, which is the Chinese government using these cameras with facial recognition to find people they want to be found. Denmark right now has a bunch of political refugees from Hong Kong because China began taking over more and more in that state. And China could potentially locate these people and extract them much easier now than they could in the past. If you think that's a bit too much over the top, let me introduce you to Operation Fox Hunt. Operation Fox Hunt is a Chinese covert global operation whose stated aim is anti-corruption under CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping's administration. It has led to the arrest of over 40 of its 100 most wanted globally. The program is also believed to target Chinese dissidents living abroad to stop their activism under the guise of returning corrupt Chinese nationals to China to face criminal charges. Unlike the US and Russia, China isn't really known for sending in people to extradite someone, in the middle of the night on a dark airplane flying away without anyone knowing anything about it. But this sure does make it more possible for them to do so. Now that's the worst case scenario, right? And I'm pretty positive by nature, so I like to think that nothing like that will ever happen, that none of these foreign governments will ever take advantage of the systems. But the potential is there, and I think that's enough to let people know about it. I think what's important here is that we can't allow our nations to become completely dependent on Chinese technology. Their ideology is complete communistic control, and they really do want complete control. So let's not be like silly goofs and just hand it over to them. Tell me what you think in the comment section and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'll see you guys in the next one.